Welcome. This is MakeYourOwnBrewHQ.com, and today we're going to be bottling. This is my second time bottling ever. The first one we didn't capture a video of because I just wanted to get the beer in the bottles. This time I feel a little bit more comfortable with putting the beer in the bottles. It's a pretty quick process other than sanitizing the bottles, and this time I used our dishwasher to sanitize 54 bottles. It worked out really well. And I've got them sitting in the other room. I did that last night, and I got them covered with paper towels so no bacteria gets in there and no dust. And this is the equipment that we'll be using today to bottle our beer. I have an auto siphon. I have our bottling wand, and this is used to fill the bottles up. And this little spring-loaded action here allows beer to flow out when you're touching the bottom of the bottle and stops, so you avoid a mess or a bigger mess. Of course, I have my brew spoon as always. I've got some hose to attach the bottling wand, and not the bottling wand, but the bottling bucket and the bottling wand. A capper. I have over 50 bottle caps and some priming sugars. And then over here, I have my bottling bucket and my brew. And this is 5 gallons of Vienna lager that I did as an ale again. It was such a huge success last time that that's the way we're going to do it. So first off, I'm going to sanitize my bottling caps, and the easiest way to do that is just to get some water boiling in a pot, and then pour the caps into boiling water. And we'll just let that sit for a while. Then we have the bottling, the priming sugar for the bottling process. And this needs to be put into 2 cups of boiling water, stirred in, and boiled for 5 minutes. So that's what we're going to do right now because we've timed this perfectly. And my 2 cups of boiling water. You want to be careful not to burn the sugar on the bottom of the pan, or the pot. Okay, get all that in there. And this needs to go for 5 minutes, so it's 8:09 in the morning, so we're going to boil this up until 8:14. We'll just let that go for 5 minutes. As soon as we come back, we'll pour the priming sugars into the bottling bucket, and then we'll start the siphon from the beer into the bottling bucket, and then we'll stir it for a minute. So we'll be right back in about 5 minutes. All right, we're about there. I didn't talk about sanitization. I sanitized everything that's going to touch the beer between now and the bottling time, including the bottles. I also didn't talk about the fact that the sugars are for the yeast to eat while it's in the bottle. This is called natural carbonization. And because while in the bottle, the byproducts of the yeast eating the sugar has nowhere to go, which is CO2. It goes back into the beer, making it carbonated. All right, so I'm going to already take this stuff off the heat. The caps have been boiling for 5 minutes, so we're good there. I'm going to take this sugar and I'm going to put it into our bottling bucket. And you want to make sure that your bottling, this spigot is turned off, or you're going to have sugar all over your floor. So now we'll take the beer. That smells wonderful. I've attached my hose, my length of hose, to my auto siphon. You can use a racking cane if you like. I prefer the auto siphon. We're going to gently put this in here. We're not going to go all the way to the bottom. We're going to monitor this as it comes out because we don't want the sediments off the bottom. So I've got this about 3/4 of the way down, and then holding this and pointing it at there, I'm going to go ahead and prime this. we've got the beer flowing into the brew pot. You'll notice that I got my brew spoon in there already. It's just that that's been sanitized, and I wanted to put it someplace sanitized, and the beer is sanitized as well. So I'm just going to sit here, make sure the hose doesn't wander out of the bottling bucket, and that the bottom of the siphon, or the bottom of the auto siphon, doesn't touch the bottom of the beer, because that's where our yeast cake is. And we don't want to bring any of that sediment up. We don't want to disturb that sediment. We want to just be really gentle with the beer at this stage, because we'd like to leave as much as the sediment and the yeast cake and stuff like that in here, while transferring the good stuff, the beer, into the bottling bucket. So this takes probably about 5 minutes. So we'll be back when it's all into the bottling bucket. So after pouring the priming sugars into the bottling bucket and siphoning the beer into the bottling bucket, I stirred it for a minute. Now, my setup is a little bit different. I don't know why anybody else hasn't, I haven't seen a video like this on YouTube yet. Most of the bottling videos I see people sitting on the floor and bottling it, because the bottling bucket needs to be higher than the bottles that you're doing. I just decided to put the bottling bucket on top of my fermentation bucket, lifting it up very carefully, and it seems to be working great. This is the first time I've tried it. The first time I just put it on a pot, and that wasn't high enough, so I ended up being on the ground as well. But this works really well. So what I have here is I have over 54 bottles of clean, sanitized brown bottles. You don't want to use clear, you want to use brown to keep the sun out of it, and keep any, not just the sun, but any exterior light. I have over 54 bottle caps that have been boiled and sanitized. I've got the tongs out so that I don't have to burn my fingers getting the bottling caps out of there, the caps out of there. And then I have the capper, and we have the bottling bucket with a length of hose, and my bottling wand. I've already filled up one, and this is how you fill bottles. So you just put this all the way to the bottom of the bottle, pushing down on the spring. It fills the bottle, and as soon as it gets up to the top here is when you want to yank the wand out, and then that'll leave the perfect amount of headspace. I don't know if you can see it through the camera, but the beer is now down to here because the volume of the wand itself displaces an amount of beer. So with the bottling wand in, you fill it all the way up to the top. And pull the bottling wand out. And trust me when I say doing it up here on this countertop is a lot more comfortable than sitting on the floor, your hard kitchen floor, filling up 5 or 6 bottles and then standing up to have them capped. Bottling day is, it can be done by a one-man process, but I suggest you pick the buddy who's probably going to be helping you drink some of the beer to come over and do this next portion of it while you fill, because it'll go a lot faster. So I'm just going to take one cap, the bottling, the capper has a little magnet here inside here which holds on to the cap for you. You set it on top of your bottle, close it down, and crimp it just like that. And we have a perfectly capped bottle of beer. Now we're going to be taking that, those are hot, and after we get all these bottles, I'm going to put them back in boxes, and I'm going to tuck them away in my closet for a week to 2 weeks, depending on how long it's going to take to naturally ferment. I personally just like put it in the closet and forgetting about it for 2 weeks. I generally do my brewing and bottling on the weekend. I say generally like I've been doing this for years, but I found that it's easiest for my time constraints to do it on the weekends. And if I just set the bottles in there for 2 weeks, all of a sudden I have a weekend where it's like, oh yeah, I've got beer. home-brewed beer. All right, so that's 4 of 54 bottles. So I'm going to repeat that process 50 more times, put them in boxes, put them in the closet, forget about them for 2 weeks. The sugars that are in there will be eaten by the yeast. It'll naturally carbonate. And in about 2 weeks, I'll have 54 bottles of perfectly homebrewed beer. We'll see you next time.